Which scenario is worse, the chemistry problems in Minnesota or the injury problems in Philadelphia? Casuals only, let's get it. The Minnesota Timberwolves were a team that I was very high on last year, and I think a lot of people were. They finally made it to the Western Conference Finals. Karl-Anthony Towns has been there for 10 plus years at that point and has never seen success of any type with Minnesota until really last season. At some points they were fighting for playoff positions, most likely going to lose in the first round, but last year was the first time they looked like a team that could really contend. And then what do? They end up trading him away for Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo, and when that happened, I sold all of the stock that I had bought for the Minnesota Timberwolves. As somebody who has never been a fan of the type of style and the brand of basketball that Julius Randle plays, I already saw where this was going. One of the biggest reasons that Karl-Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert were able to play together is because of Karl-Anthony Towns' ability to stretch the floor. Where Julius Randle is capable of hitting threes, but not nearly as efficiently as Karl-Anthony Towns is, which is what helped made their offense really work, because Karl-Anthony Towns is just a more efficient scorer than Julius Randle is. So the second I saw that they were trading away Karl-Anthony Towns, the best shooting big in the NBA, and bringing in Julius Randle, who is somebody who doesn't have the greatest attitude on the court, whether he's not getting the ball or missing shots, not involved on offense, or giving a half-ass attempt on defense, Julius Randle has just never been the type of dude to play a winning type of basketball. Where Karl-Anthony Towns, we saw him willingly take that back seat to Anthony Edwards, because he knew that was the route that needed to be done in order for them to make a run in the playoffs or have any type of success in the postseason. Whereas Julius Randle just doesn't have that type of like off-ball kind of player. He's somebody who operates very well with a lot of dribbles, a lot of time spent dribbling the ball and getting into his own offense, where it's pretty detrimental to the team around him. Karl-Anthony Towns, on the other hand, was able to play off of Anthony Edwards well. He's a good catch and shoot shooter. He doesn't need to spend a lot of the time with the ball in his hand in order to make himself valuable in the offense. And then you look at the chemistry problems. At some point when Rudy Gobert came in, when they originally traded for him, there were a little bit of chemistry problems, fit problems, that kind of thing. And they ended up working it out, but it took them a season and a half, whatever it was. It took them a long time to figure out how to work with Karl-Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert. Well, you finally have success with that pairing, and then you change it up. So now, of course, there's going to be chemistry problems, and we saw that in their most recent game. When Rudy Gobert was posting up in the paint, Julius Randle was dribbling the air out of the ball like he loves to do. Didn't pass it to Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert gets a 3-second violation. Now, obviously, it isn't just on Julius Randle for that. It's also on Rudy Gobert. Like, get the hell out of the paint, dude. Why are you standing in there? If you don't get the ball, you got to get out no matter what. You're going to cost your team a turnover and you're going to lose another game. There were 5 minutes in the fourth quarter left when this happened, and the game was still very close. This goes on both of them. And then Anthony Edwards is then screaming at both of them like, you got to get your head out of your ass and be a teammate. Be a team player. Stop playing for yourself. And then at the end of the game, we all saw that Julius Randle throws the ball at Rudy Gobert's chest. Rudy Gobert fumbles it, kind of as like, okay, you want the ball? Here you go, and just threw it at him as hard as he could. Gobert drops it. It's another turnover. It's just the chemistry issues over there look pretty terrible right now. They're on a 4-game losing streak, and I don't know how much better it's going to get. Now, if we look on the other side of the NBA, in the Eastern Conference, the 76ers are 3-14, and their biggest issues right now is the fact that Joel Embiid can't play basketball. He's always hurt. Paul George again hyperextends his knee or whatever. Tyrese Maxey has missed time, and Jarrett McCain is currently their best player, but he's their rookie. The only thing I think that the 76ers really have going for them in the first place is the fact that they're in the Eastern Conference, where, you know, they're 3-14 now, and the 10th seed is 8-12. 9 seeds 8-11. They're only 5 games back from the 9th seed, from the play-in. The Eastern Conference is so weak that if they win 7 out of their next 10, somehow, if Paul George and Joel Embiid come back, they're fighting for a play-in spot at that point, and it's still not even halfway through the season. There's still a lot of time for them, but the further they dig themselves into this hole of 3-14 and they get down to 3-18 or something like that, it's going to be way harder for them to come back out of. Whereas in the West, somehow if Minnesota, you know, drops a couple more games, they're looking at being in that 13th, 14th seed. They're currently sitting in the 12th seed. The team under them at 13 is the Trailblazers at 7-12. If they keep dropping games and that chemistry situation doesn't get fixed, they could find themselves in a really deep hole. And if you're in a deep hole in the Western Conference, that is way harder to get out of than a deep hole in the Eastern Conference, which is why personally I think being in the Sixers situation is more favorable than being in the Timberwolves situation. Because if you find yourself in that Sixers situation and you're able to get yourself up to a 9 seed, you're playing one of the Nets, the Hawks, the Bulls, the Pistons, the Hornets, which are very winnable and favorable games for Paul George, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, healthy type teams, and there's a chance they can still make the playoffs. Whereas when you look back out west, if the Timberwolves end up having to be in that 10th or 9th seed, you're going to be either going against the Kings, the Spurs, the Suns, the Mavericks, the Nuggets, the Clippers. That could be a loss in the first round of the play-in tournament, or the second round of the play-in tournament. You could miss the playoffs. But it all comes down to when these injuries are finally healed. When can these players come back? How deep of a hole are they dug into when these players are finally healthy? And can they stay healthy throughout the season to dig themselves out of this hole? Compared to the chemistry issues, which sometimes are never fixed. Sometimes it literally takes a trade for that to be fixed. And are the Timberwolves willing to admit that they made a mistake, that they should not have made the trade, and that they need to make another move? Is Julius Randle out of there? Will they be able to admit that to themselves and their fans, and take that loss on themselves and really try and make sure that Anthony Edwards isn't unhappy, because he is their future. He is a star in this league and an upcoming superstar in this league. He's somebody you don't want to lose. And right now, after tasting that success, if he has to fall back and miss the playoffs and the team is a shell of itself, how long is he going to want to be there? Now, I'm hoping for him and I'm hoping for the Timberwolves that he wants to be there forever. Like, Karl Anthony Towns is very patient with that team, but you can't guarantee that. So after saying all of this, my final conclusion, I would rather be in the Sixers position. You have a former MVP in Joel Embiid, somebody who can average 30 and 10 a game. You have Paul George, who is coming in to be the second or third option behind Tyrese Maxey, whichever it is. He's capable of averaging 25 a game. And you have Tyrese Maxey, who we've seen average 20 plus a game, 25 a game, whatever he averaged last year. You have the stars. Jared McCain is an upcoming breakout rookie, possibly rookie of the year player. You have the tools, you have the pieces. Can you get healthy? Can you dig yourselves out of the hole? And can you stop digging yourself further into the hole to make this harder for the later parts of the season? Because usually you want to start out 14-3 instead of 3-14 so that you can kind of ride into the playoffs a little comfortably and rest your players. But they're going to be at a point where they're fighting for a playoff or play-in spot by the time the playoffs are getting close. So you guys just let me know, which position would you rather be in as a fan or somebody involved either on the team or in the front office? Which do you think is a more favorable position to be in? My answer is the 76ers, because they're in the Eastern Conference and I trust their guys. I don't like the chemistry problems over for the Timberwolves. I think that's going to be a struggle for the Timberwolves for a minute, but I got to hear your guys' opinions. Let me know what you think. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Drop the like, hit the subscribe button. Casuals only. I appreciate everybody. Have a good one. Deuces.